Hey guys, we're gonna have Hagen come in just a second from Plaza Resort Bonaire. I just wanted to say hello on this Wednesday evening. Hagen is from Plaza Resort Bonaire. We tend to go there every other year or so. We got a trip planned there for August through my dive shop. So I'm gonna bring him in. We're just gonna kind of chat, see how he's doing down there on the island, and see. Since we have a whole lot of questions on what's going on for travel, because that's a major part of our business. We are going to stop in and say hello to him and spend a little time with him and just kind of chat. So I'm going to bring Hagen in right now. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. Yes, I'm fine.
Beautiful.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Not bad. I love the palm trees. It's been snowing the past couple of days by us.
Oh, well, I thought I'd bring a little bit of Caribbean cheer.
I love it.
A little bit of sunshine, a little bit of foliage into this little program of yours.
Very, very nice. That is excellent. So how have you guys been doing on the island?
That's a good question. Let's say our situation here on the island came into full effect as far as a lockdown was concerned on the 13th of March. We were in the throes of making some very nice improvements to the resort as well as to the dive shop. And then we had notification from the government that we actually had to all stop work, physically stop work, not allowed to do anything at all. And then we had an emergency package coming our way. So since, let's say, the 13th of March of this year, 2020, we've really been doing very, very little. I know from the dive crew, we've been doing the general maintenance, running the boats, running the engines. We've been doing stock take, all the tedious things. We've gone through all the regulators, pulled them to pieces, done some really intensive servicing on them. All the BCDs have all been cleaned up. So it's actually looking really, really good from that point of view. We're waiting to hear what else we can do as far as fixing things and maintenance things and that sort of stuff. Some of the guys have done a few additional dive courses, such as free diving. So there was a whole bunch of them that decided to do some free dive course. And there's a little video on our Facebook page, the Toucan Diving Facebook page, of Jeroen, Remco, Chantal, and Joop free diving down to the Hilmer Hooker.
Is he back with you guys now?
Sorry?
Is Joop back with you guys now?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
That's excellent.
So they've been doing a little bit of extra diving curriculum, diving training, if you want to put it that way. Jeroen has also been doing self-reliant. So he is now self-reliant instructor, which is quite a nice one for some people, especially for photographers when they want to go out there and just do their own little thing. So we have extra equipment to take care of those particular divers, which is nice.
Nice. What did you guys bring in for that? What extra equipment did you bring in?
Well, we bought 40 cubic foot tanks, aluminium tanks, and the guys have been busy with setting up stage regulators and all that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit on a soft technical side of things, because nice. as you know, I am still quite interested in moving in a little bit further into the let's call it recreational technical side of things, which is good. So yeah, they've been busy with things like that, which is cool. I like that.
And you guys got a great spot for the recreational technical type of dive, and even the straight up technical. That the whole area there, we've done a lot with you guys, and it is just so perfect to be able to go out and with the double wall system right by you guys. It's just
it's
so
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
No, it's I know every time that you come down, you're in heaven when you come down, because it's you're walking straight off and straight down, and within a minute you're already hitting your particular depth that you particularly want. So it's cool.
Oh yeah, it's great. Hanging out with the tarpon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they're still there. In fact, diving around here at the moment, we have more fish life and better visibility than ever before. It's really quite amazing. So, there's the upside of things.
Yeah, we're planning to come in August, so hopefully we're going to get it right when it's in peak and prime. And
we look forward to it.
Yeah, Nick and Britta, Monaco. So they're hoping.
There we
to
go.
See
Hi, Nick. Hi, Britta.
There, very nice. So you guys were working on doing a bunch of different renovations to the property in general, right?
Yep. Nice. And they're very busy with it, which is good. Let's see where I can run you through with things at the moment. Okay, the old coconut crash bar, she's still sitting there for the moment. Obviously, we've taken all the equipment out, so there's nothing left inside. So as soon as the contractors get the go-ahead, we will demolish the old coconut crash bar, and we will recreate what I'm calling a dive station. So we will have proper rinse tanks in that little area, nice shower areas, places to put the wheelbarrows. For those people who know the property a little bit better than others, we have wheelbarrows that we can transport the dive equipment from the dive shop across to the shoreline. We'll also put air tanks, but also I'm planning on putting nitrox tanks in that area as well. So there's less hassle and less work involved with regards to moving tanks back and forth. And when we do finally get our, there's a new wet dive shop coming as well. We're going to be running compressor lines to fill the air and fill the nitrox tanks in situ. So we don't have to keep moving tanks back and forth, which will make life for the dive masters a whole lot easier. Life for the customer much more convenient, simply because the tanks will be sitting right there on the shoreline. So that's the first thing that's going to happen once the new pool bar is completed. And right now, the complete shell of the pool bar is set. She's all tiled up. Equipment is moving in. They're putting up slats on the roof. It has a kind of a circular shape to the new pool bar, which is very nice. So you have a beautiful view right across 18 Palms and across the Klein Bonaire and all the way up to beyond 1,000 Steps and Washington Park. So you have an amazing sunset view actually from the new pool bar. So they're almost finishing off with that one at the moment. The new swimming pool that we have now, which is the largest swimming pool on Bonaire. It's a magna pool, so it's not chlorinated. It's using salt crystals, which apparently is much better for the skin, which is cool. It's good. That's all done, and that's all in place. People have been using it prior to our shutdown, and they were loving it, absolutely loving it. Then beyond that, we are busy with actually getting ready with the columns for the second floor of the new build. So we're going to have a new entrance, a brand new entrance into Plaza Beach and Dive Resort, which will be opposite VIP diving. So literally a little bit further down, closer to the town area, if you know more or less where our entrance is. The concrete foundation's already laid for the ground floor, where we're going to have a brand new restaurant and a bar, cocktail bar. We're also going to, yeah, there you go, beautiful. So that's our pool. It's already up and running. You can see the white circular building is the new pool bar. So she's almost complete. Like I said, equipment is going in. To the right, you've got a little white building. That's actually going to be the DJ station. So we're going to have nice chill sounds going on pretty much every single day. And then we can also do our salsa dancing and all those sorts of lovely things as well. So that's going to be really nice. And also what's cool is those little circular sunbeds that you see in the front here. They all have USB charging ports, which is very nice. You know? So you can have your telephone right there. You can be charging it up right at the poolside, which is pretty excellent, I think.
Yeah, that's great. So I've been going to Plaza for about 10 years now. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a screenshot of the aerial shot from previously and throw it up there. And even this is one of the newer ones, but basically there's been a whole lot of changes over the past 10 years. How long have you been there?
At Plaza and Toucan, I moved in full-time 2016, but I've been on the island for 20 years now.
Wow. Where were you prior to Toucan?
Okay. When I first came to the island, I actually started off at Buddy Dive. I was very, very busy with running the dive shop there with my ex-wife then, well, my wife then, but now ex-wife. Busy with setting it all up and with excursions. That was my primary thing, and I was there for 5 years. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. So what capacity did you come to Plaza originally? Did you come to as your position or different?
Well, originally I was just a freelance instructor. I came back from making sure that my son completed his education. In 2016, I came back to the island after a 18-month break. And I knew that Plaza needed, oh yeah, there's your property there now.
Yeah.
I knew that Plaza needed some instructors, and I needed work, basically. So that's how the whole thing really for me started back in 2016. And then I just happened to be, I suppose, in the right place at the right time, where the dive shop was not being run very efficiently at the time. And I basically fell into the job of being the manager of Toucan Diving. I had the confidence of the owners in order to put some certain very important upgrades into the dive shop. So we have now, for example, brand new compressors, LNW, which is a German compressor company. We have two high pressure compressors that are what we call silent. So they're very, very quiet. They just rumble away in the background. And we also have a brand new Atlas Copco low pressure compressor, which is also silent. And that will assist in producing nitrox. So we are actually, with the system that I've got right now, we are at overcapacity. We don't really need as much compressor capabilities as what we have, but with the new dive shop, wet dive shop coming along, which will be a 3-floor dive shop. On the top floor is going to have a restaurant and bar for 100 people, wow, by the way. So that's going to be quite nice. And also new units. The resort is building new units at the moment. They're going to be self-contained, so visitors can, if they wanted to, cook for themselves, but they can enjoy the facilities of the resort. So I will have approximately, if we are running at 100% capacity, we would have another 200 more customers, guests staying. So we can go from 250 if we're running at 100% capacity to 450. And they are also looking at still increasing units over the next 5 years, despite all of this coronavirus problem that we are going through. Despite all of that, they are still going ahead with their investment. So the numbers from the resort itself potentially could come up a little bit higher than that. So that's another reason why I went for a little bit of an overcapacity on our compressor systems.
That's good.
Yeah.
Boats. You had a bunch of different boats. You guys have gone through boats. I know that there was some changes in boats and additions of boats and modifications of boats. Can you go ahead and talk about what you got for boats?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, you can still, I don't know if you can see that just in the background, you've got a couple of the island hoppers. Running beautifully. They're nice and clean, nice and smart. They've been well maintained. 2 of them are in the water just at the moment. That's the Green Flash and the Purple Rain. The Blue Moon is on dry land. She had another little bit of an overhaul because that's 4 years now since she last had anti-fouling, and it was time for her to come out. So as it happened, we pulled her out of the water early March, and we got her all nicely spruced up. So I'm keeping her out of the water for the moment until I know where we're going to go with everything else. We have got a 36-foot catamaran being built just at the moment, and I've seen pictures of the hulls. She's going to be, like I said, a catamaran. She'll take 24 divers, which is nice, with outboard engines, 300 Mercury engines, I believe. There'll be enough spacing for us to all do a very comfortable 2-tank boat dive. And I was originally expecting the boat to be with us in October, but I have a feeling that I won't see that boat for maybe another 2 months. So maybe in January. Okay, so you've got the Blue Moon. So that's the island hoppers that we have. They're comfortable for 12 divers. I prefer just 10. That's a nice number. There's a little bit of room for everybody then to move around it. It doesn't get too crowded. But they're nice boats, very comfortable, very dry. And I'm very pleased with how they've kept on going. We've got a great mechanic. His name is Luty. He comes down every Monday, and he does his weekly checks, which is good. And I think that's another reason why we haven't really had any issues with our boats for a long time. I remember when I first came on board as a freelance instructor and I would take the boats out, in the back of my mind, I was always, look at that, that's a nice picture. A lot of happy faces there.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a little bit worried, are we going to make it back in time? Are we going to be okay? And all these sorts of, and I can always remember that we always had, at least once a month, we had an issue with the boats. But as a team, we pulled together, and we always managed to bring everybody back nice and safely, and all with big smiles, and they all had a nice story to tell at the end of it all. But I really wanted to try and eradicate boat issues, because people want to go out and they want to come back with a nice big smile from start to finish.
I know that feeling. 1 sec. We got a question I'm going to answer. Hold on. All right, Britta, I'll answer my portion, then I'll have Hagen do the other part. This is available on YouTube, yes, on the Drama Diving page, the channel on YouTube. And then Hagen's question is, will you be keeping the floating dock?
Wow, okay. So we have a floating dock that is rather nice because it means that people can actually walk out onto it and then make some real nice giant strides at the end of it. It has caused a few issues because when you do have some waves coming through, it's not necessarily a floating dock, it's a little bit undulating. And if you're not quite ready for it, it can actually knock you off the floating dock itself. So what we're actually looking at is we've put some permit applications in to create a solid pier and in the north part of the property. So basically where the new swimming pool is or the old one, it's using the same footprint. So we're actually looking to put a solid pier out with enough depth that we can make a giant stride, and then have a nice solid ladder so people can then come up that ladder very nice and easy. For those people who know our property in the south part of the island, by the Tipsy Seagull restaurant, there is a concrete block out very close to the shoreline. Well, we've also put an application in to remove the concrete, put it onto a floating platform so that nothing falls actually onto the reef itself. Remove all the old concrete, which is now 25 years old, and then connect it from the land across to make a new pier in the south. So we technically will end up with 2 piers, one in the north and one in the south.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So that piece that's basically broken up there is just going to be removed, is essentially what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be removed. Yes.
All right. How's the ladder and entrance going over there? Is it still in pretty good shape?
Yeah, it's in very, very good shape, actually. We, I think maybe once a month at the moment, we're going down, just giving it a bit of a cleanup. but it's looking very good. We have also constructed around the big rinse tank, let's say a little bit of a seating area where you can actually put your tank and you can put your equipment right there at the rinse tank. So that's a little bit nice. I remember we had issues and customers were lining the tanks and the equipment on the cabanas that were there, and that really wasn't very ideal. But so we've made it much nicer for the divers. Yeah, and obviously when the new dive shop will be down located where Blue Bay Water Sports is now. If you, I don't know if you want to pop that aerial photograph back up again.
There you go.
Because you're pretty good at that sort of thing. Okay, so you can see, you can see down in the south part, you can just about make out the south pier with the concrete block. And then we're going to be, I suppose, a little bit opposite to where the Tipsy Seagull building is, right down on the far left of the picture. We're going to be putting a new wet dive shop. So there's going to be much nicer access for the divers to go from a shore dive point of view, but we will also be moving our boats down into that area as well.
So clarify what you mean by wet dive shop.
Okay, wet dive shop is where all the rental equipment is, where the weights are, where you're going to get your tanks to go to do a shore dive directly there by the Tipsy Seagull. It's also going to be where we're going to have the dive manager will have his office, the marina manager will have his office. We're going to incorporate some kind of videography room so that we can then start showing people how to do editing and all these sorts of different things. Because people have a lot of very simple GoPros, for example. Yeah, everybody has a GoPro and they all have fun with them and everything else. But we also would like to be able to help people make simple edits and simple little underwater videos, maybe only 2 or 3 minutes long, and they're not too sure how to do all of that. So that's where we would like to try and be able to bring that back into play. Years ago, you had a dedicated videographer that would come onto the dive boats and make a nice little movie from everybody and all this sort of stuff. And of course, going back to boats that you were talking about, the plan with the larger boats is to make a nice day excursion, and we will go all the way up to the north of the island and do 2 dives up off the Washington Park area. So there'll be one-way dive. So you drop in, the boat captain then will just follow all the bubbles, and then after an hour's drift dive, you come back up again. So we're trying to bring that one into play as well. And that's a perfect opportunity for us to have a videographer on the boat to do a little bit of video stuff, and then show it at the end of the week in the new scuba restaurant, which will be on the 3rd floor of the wet dive shop. So you can see there's so many nice things that are coming into play.
So could somebody, as an instructor or someone, come down and hold a photography seminar and kind of course utilizing your guys' facilities, or would it just be for you guys?
I have never been a person where I've made it difficult for any other dive instructor from a different dive shop not to use any of our facilities. I've always opened up our dive shop to be very hospitable and to try and make it as easy as possible. So you guys are going to be selling the trips for us, bringing the customers down to us. What you guys want to do, then we're more than happy to try and help out. Because at the same time, we're learning how you guys are doing things. So, it's a little bit of a, we're learning at the same time. So I have no problems with things like that.
That's what I figured. That's kind of why I asked that question, because I've had such a great experience with it that I was figuring that was going to be the answer. So one of the things that I want to show you, let me bring it up and share screen, because you mentioned it before and there wasn't a good segue. So let me bring this up. This is my logo. I don't know if you can see it. In the background are the pillars from that concrete block you guys are removing. So
Yep.
if you zoom in on it, it is a picture of the reef. All the sun corals right there, and the two pillars that are right behind the E and right behind the big S from stop is a picture I took my first trip to Bonaire ever, which is when we started our shop. So I kind of wanted to say that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So it's kind of mixed feelings if you guys were removing that thing there. So at least I've got
the columns themselves will stay. They're not going to go anywhere. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. But what we'll do is it'll all be the overhead stuff. So we're going to have new steel bars connecting, and then we'll probably be putting wood straight over the top. So we're not going to be messing around with all those columns.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Britta has a question. We're sorry to hear of Bruce's passing, which was just recently. When did you first meet him, and do you have a story to share?
Yeah, I suppose I first met Bruce back in the year 2000 when I first came to the island, when I was working at the other resort, let's put it that way.
I like it.
And I needed to have my regulator repaired. It was as simple as that. There wasn't anybody on staff that could do it sufficiently enough for what I really wanted. So I went looking around, and I found the Caribbean and Bruce Bowker. And I remember going into his shop, and even back in those days, he had a beautiful, well-stocked little treasure of a dive shop. And he had a glass counter, and I was just about to put the regulator down onto the glass counter. I know Britta is smiling at this one because he's, "Don't put it on the counter." And I was like, whoa, okay. But Bruce was a great guy. He really was a pioneer for the dive industry here on Bonaire. There's no doubt about it. He was one of those quiet people. He did not really want to have a whole lot of public exposure, but he was certainly very instrumental with a lot of things that went on here on the island. It's very, very sad that he's passed away. So
yeah. You guys have had a rough couple of years actually with that, because I know a couple of years ago Christopher Spotton and now Bruce. So you guys taking a big hit from the diving community down on Bonaire, I know.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, last year was Chris, and that was a sad loss, certainly for the technical dive world, and also for those people that knew him around. I mean, he was a lovely guy, very, very nice, and he was very passionate in doing what he was doing. And yes, and now of course, and Bruce and I also lost a very nice dear friend, dive master from the other dive shop. His name was Murph Heine. He originally came from Suriname, and he was on the island before I was, let's put it that way. And so when I came onto Bonaire in 2000, I got to know him very, very well. He was an unbelievable dive master in so much that he could read customers really well. He knew exactly how they would dive. He could find creatures underwater and point them out to everybody in the group. And I learned a lot from him. Also boat skills. He taught me a lot of skills in how to maneuver boats and all those sorts of things. So I put a lot of my my thanks to Murph, who passed away. And he's another one of those diving legends here on Bonaire that has passed away, and I fear that they will be forgotten. I mean, we all remember Captain Don Stewart, and I'm pretty sure that we will remember Bruce Bowker, but people like Chris and Murph, they possibly can just disappear unless we do something about it, even if it's just a simple digital history of them, and we put that up on some kind of a platform, so at least people can say, oh, okay, I read about this dive master, and he sounded like a very interesting guy. But so they're never forgotten. I think it's important that we try and do something like that.
Yeah, some of my greatest memories. I mean, besides all, I mean, I love going to Plaza and I love working with you guys and diving with you guys. But going and hanging out with Chris in his shop and having a little bit of coffee with him and hanging out was just an unbelievable experience. So, what are you guys doing going forward? What are the plans for you diving wise and expansion besides the physical expansion? But what are you guys doing for a staffing wise expansion?
Okay, staffing-wise expansion is going to be an interesting one. We, as you know, Bonaire has had an international airspace lockdown. Our airspace will probably still be locked down through to June, middle of June sometime. We will find out this week by the governor, who makes press releases twice a week, once on Tuesday, once on Friday, and he explains what's going to be happening. We have to wait and see how many visitors we're going to have coming back to us. We, at the moment, have capacity restrictions of 50 people per business on property. So if I were to open up the resort and open up the dive shop, then I'm going to be staffing probably, let's say, 20 staff throughout the whole resort. That means I'm only allowed to have 30 people, customer-wise, on the resort. If I go over the 50 people, I will end up with getting a fine from the government, and quite a hefty fine as well. You know, you're looking at a couple of $1,000s.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to wait for these restrictions to be lifted just that little bit further. European airlines, so we're looking at KLM, which is the national carrier, and TUI, which is the largest tour operator. They have suspended or cancelled, probably cancelled all their flights up until the end of June. So we definitely know that we're not going to have anything through June, unfortunately. We do not know what we're going to be, what's happening from July and August, September, and those months onwards. So we will be restricted with the number of people that we're allowed to have on the property, but also with regards to space, distance between one customer and another customer. So, you know, we're looking at, they all talk about the 1.5 meters, which is about a 5.5 foot distance between customers. So right now, we don't have the virus here on Bonaire at all. So we are COVID free, which is great. There were a couple of nondescript or non-classified. They could not distinguish whether we had a positive case or a negative case. So it was an inconclusive. And I believe that we had 2 patients in that respect. But there were also medical staff, because the medical staff are flying between the islands of Statia and Saba. And they are continuously flying with Learjets to make sure that patients are being looked after properly, and they are bringing them to Bonaire. Our medical facilities here are literally at full capacity. So if we have a plane either from the United States coming or from Europe coming, and we have one customer, tourist customer on the plane who turns positive, we have a serious problem on the island, because we will not be able to cope with the medical issues that will follow on from all of those sort of problems. So I think that's really where it's all being held up at the moment. It's our medical facilities.
Yeah, my a bunch of my staff has been harassing me since it's been snowing all the way up until May, and they wanted to know if you had any jobs, is what they were asking me, and I said I didn't know if I wanted to ask you that or not.
Well, I mean, by all means, you can ask as much as you. I have had applications coming in because I knew that people will be fed up and they'd say, I have to leave this place. I want to go down to the Caribbean because they're having a nice time and they're diving and they're doing this and they're COVID free. But it all runs on Plaza Resort and Toucan Diving. If I put them all together, we actually have 130 personnel, which is actually quite a lot.
Well,
yeah. we will unfortunately have to whittle those numbers down one way or the other. Some contracts are simply going to be expiring. Whether we can roll them over is another question. Fortunately, the system that is set up for the Netherlands means that a business cannot fire or dismiss somebody who has a contract. So there's safeguards there. And also what the Netherlands has instigated is an emergency financial package, which means that everybody gets 80% of their salary, which is also very good. So at least people have money in order to, in order to pay for, let's say, the electricity bills and all those sorts of things. So we don't really know. We have to wait and see how this all comes along. But with the expansion of the dive shop, yes. Once our numbers are back up again and we've got good numbers of customers coming through our doors, we will, of course, look to see how we can increase our staffing capacities. I suspect that at the moment we have about 12 people in the dive shop. Once we have the new retail shop across the way by the new front entrance and the new wet dive shop on the other end of the resort, you're probably looking at 25 staff. So we're going to be increasing our staff levels. And there's no doubt about that, which is going to be very nice. We will probably be increasing food and beverage staff levels, so that that you have all those different things going on as well. Because if you're going to have a new restaurant at the front desk and the new pool bar has also a little kitchen, so there's going to be nice snack foods coming out of that particular area, and then you have the wet dive shop with a restaurant on the top, you're going to have more staff in order to service all these little outlets. So yes, staffing is going to be increasing.
Nice. We got a question from Britta, but she sent it as a message instead of a message, so it still looks like it's coming from me. From Britta: Jason, what are you drinking, and what are the bottles behind you? Today is a Belveni 14-year Caribbean cask. Anytime I talk to somebody from the islands, I grab that one. There's a couple of Jamesons, another Belveni, and a Cubocan. And then the other bottles are ones that we found in the St. Lawrence River. Normally, these are not the really good ones because, this one's from like the 1800s or so. So there's shipwrecks that we have up here, and these are water bottles. You can see that they're rounded at the bottom. It was just quick and easy. They're hand blown. So they basically just grab the glass, blow them up, and then cork them and put water in them to sail in the 1800s and 1900s up by us. So that's what all that stuff behind me is, Britta. So give us a kind of a rundown of how you would normally do some diving down on Bonaire at the resort. I don't think maybe everybody understands exactly how easy it is for you to go ahead and get in the water and dive where you're at, Hagen.
Okay. So we have a dive shop that's located in the internal marina system. So we are probably, I suppose, a 5-minute walk to the shoreline. We have wheelbarrows where we can put all our equipment into and simply walk through the resort and then work our way down to the coastline, I suppose. There's a walled coast, walled area where we have tanks, dive tanks. Air. We always used to have air, but with the new dive station, we will have nitrox there as well. Then there'll obviously be an analyzer, then the logbook and all the usual bits and bobs. And then you basically put your equipment together. And then if you're looking at the ocean, there is a very nice, simple cut between two walls where you can walk literally from the sandy beach into the water, get yourself into about 4 feet of water, put your fins on, have your mask on, float out maybe 15 feet away from the shoreline. You can see the colorations from this aerial photograph. All the light area, of course, that's the sand terrace. It's not so wide at all. Probably at its widest, you're looking at maybe 20 feet from the shoreline itself. And then once you hit the dark blue area, that's exactly where the reef system is. So you're not really going very far at all. The length of coastline that you're looking at is probably about 800 yards. So it's a very large stretch of coastline. It's one of the best dive sites from an access point of view from the shore. We're, I suppose, located just 10 minutes south of the downtown area, and we are in a little bit of a curvature of the island itself. So we don't have too many rolling waves coming in. So we're not so exposed, which means relatively flat, calm water stepping in and coming out from that particular dive site. And you can see in the north part, you have a floating dock that's running out, and you can see in the south part, the steps by the restaurant, the Tipsy Seagull going in. And right in the middle is a little bit of a cut between two walls, and that's where you can literally just walk straight through and straight into the water, and off you go. And if you're not a diver, that's also not a problem. You can be a snorkeler, and you can snorkel that whole reef. There are so many creatures that inhabit that particular reef. It's quite amazing, from resident octopus to turtles passing through, to eagle rays coming in and feeding in the shallow and the sandy area. They're looking for the crustaceans. It really is quite amazing. Barracuda, tarpon, especially at nighttime. They love that reef at night. Of course, they're feeding at night, so there's a lot of action on those night dives.
Yeah, I've done this reef. I do it about 6 times every time we go, and I love every single thing about it. And there's bioluminescence going on at night if you shut off your lights. And then you've got, like you were saying, octopus and the sun corals are in like 3 feet of water down on the south end by those. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'll do this all day long, this reef. And then you got the double wall to the south, right? So you can go down to they're at 96 feet. There is a big, huge barrel sponge down there at 96 feet, which if you go right around the wall there, and then at 96 feet, there's that. And the wall straight off where it goes dark there goes down to, like 120-ish right there, right? Something around there? Yeah, right around there. Yeah. So you can get plenty. I mean, you can go back and forth on this wall all day long and not see the same thing twice for the entire week.
You will not be bored with this house reef at all.
No.
It's quite interesting because people will say that they love to explore the island and they love to dive different dive sites, but they always seem to want to come back to 18 Palm dive site, which is our house reef, and they just say that we find so much more here on this particular dive site than anywhere else. So it's an amazing dive site. I love it.
Nice. Can you talk about a little bit of the culture from the dive sites, Red Slave, Yellow Slave, and the salt trades, and kind of what those dive sites and those houses are, and about kind of salt pier?
Okay, history lesson.
A little bit. You don't have to go in depth, just a little bit.
No, that's okay. So we have in the south part of the island is typically it's flat. And years ago, they used to and still do mine salt through solar evaporation. We have certain monuments, pillars that are colored throughout the southerly part of the island. We also have some huts. One section of huts is called White Slave, and the other section of huts is actually called Red Slave, although for one reason or another, a few years ago, they were not repainted red. They were repainted musty yellow. So Don't ask me why that happened, but for some reason it happened. So the locals that were here on the island and involved with the solar works would walk from Rincon, which was the first settlement, and they would walk down to the southerly part of the island and stay in those huts, escaping from the sunshine during certain times of the day, and then they would work the salt fields. The obelisks that are in the south, one is blue, one is white, one is red, were navigational markers for the salt ship companies that would then come in and moor off one of those obelisks, where the locals would then put the salt into small rowing boats, row out to the ships, and then load the salt up onto the ships. So the obelisks would help the captain of the ship know exactly which particular destination they had to go to collect the salt, basically. That's how that all worked. There's a nice funny story about the white slave huts. There was a group leader, much like yourself. He was coming down to Bonaire. I think he had about 30 divers in his group. And they were a challenging group for the group leader. Let's just put it that way. Okay, they were a little bit challenging. They found out that some of the rooms were not all oceanfront and not all what they thought that they were going to be getting. And so the group leader decided that when he did finally arrive at Flamingo International Airport, he got everybody into the bus and he told the bus driver to drive south down to the white slave huts. And he put up outside the white slave huts and he said, "Okay, guys, I've made rearrangements. This is your accommodation, oceanfront, which is what you wanted." And since that day, his group was perfect. They were happy. They had no complaints at all. But it's a nice little story, you know?
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's too funny. What is your favorite dive on the island?
Oh. Well, that's an interesting one. My favorite, I suppose it really depends on certain factors. I love the salt pier. You have different times of the day, the sunlight coming through, passing through the columns underwater. So you have different perspectives. I love the shipwreck, the Hilmer Hooker, that went down in 1984. Bruce Bowker was very instrumental for sorting that one out, by the way. Morning dive it's a very dark dive. There's typically tarpon hanging out inside the cargo holds. But as the sun travels across the sky, of course, you're going to have different times. And then in the late afternoon, the sunshine is shining right into the shipwreck, and it lights up that shipwreck completely different to what it would look like in the morning. So that's another great dive.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites right there, especially at dusk.
Beautiful, beautiful. And doing it as a moonlight dive is also quite an interesting one, because you have natural light coming from the full moon, and there is so much activity going on that shipwreck. It really is quite amazing. So those are the two, I suppose, down in the south. Up in the north, I'd have to say Ladagna's Leap is probably one of my favorite shore dives. It's not an easy one, certainly not accessible to a lot of divers, because it is a one-way dive. You're basically making a giant leap off the coral ledge into the ocean, and you have to make a one-way dive up to Kapata. So we're right up in the north of the island, but it is a beautiful dive.
Nice. I don't know if I've done that one or not, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, we should talk about that one when you come down in August.
Yes, that's a definite. There's not many that I haven't done, I don't think, but that's one I don't think I've done. So
it really is an amazing. It's right next to Rappel. So Rappel dive site we will do from a boat. And Bruce Bowker, going back to good old Bruce, he used to do it in the early days by rappelling down the cliff face in full scuba gear, hence the name rappel.
Nice.
But it's a beautiful actual dive area. It's very unique, very interesting sand terrace structure, but it'll go down the first part of the dive. You can very easily go down to 140 feet before you have a sheer wall drop off. Absolutely spectacular.
That sounds like an excellent spot to maybe do some a little bit of technical diving. So that might be something we need to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing with that a little bit with the rebreathers or whatnot. So,
yeah.
Is there any help that you guys need? Is there anything that you guys need from us? What do you need from the dive shops that can help you guys out going forward?
Okay. Well, we are always very, very grateful for persons like yourself who offer bringing things down, small little things, like O-ring picks or low pressure, intermediate pressure gauges, all sorts of different little things, and I always have the guys make up a small little list, and we pass that out, and group leaders like yourself are always very, very willing and gracious to bring things down. So we're very, very happy for those sorts of things. Right now, I think we're just in limbo at the moment. The staff are happy to be here. I do have one member of staff from the dive shop stuck in the Netherlands.
Oh,
he got caught out with all the cancellations in flights and was not able to come back to the island, although he is on a list of repatriation. So with a little bit of luck, we will see him in the next few weeks. So he's looking forward to coming back. But otherwise, we'd just be happy to see you guys come down. I think that's really
yeah, it fixes everything for everybody, right?
Yeah, we want to take you out diving.
Yes, that is excellent. And just so people know, I actually one of my most vivid memories of Bonaire is it might have even been with you, is we were coming back on the boat and there was a manta in the channel. That was when the GoldenEye or whatever boat was there. I think we might have even been on that. And there was a manta swimming back and forth in that area, which was crazy.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
And we have had manta sightings. Still, we still get them, which is really, really cool. But also, there's 3 or 4 baby eagle rays actually inside the marina, which is really beautiful to see. You can see them every now and then they're coming to the surface, or they're actually flying right out of the water. So that's pretty cool.
That's great. Before we sign off, because we're getting close to the end of our time, can you explain Klein Bonaire and the diving around Klein? I don't think we talked about it too much. We focused on kind of the main ones, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Klein Bonaire, or Small Bonaire, or Little Bonaire, if you want to call it, it's a small island just off the coast of Bonaire itself. It's only accessible with a boat. There are 26 dive sites, officially named dive sites. There might not be 26 moorings, but there are definitely 26 named dive sites around the island of Klein Bonaire. We have boats, and we do like to go across to that particular island to do some slightly different diving. Depending on your location, if you're on the east side of the island or the south side of the island, the dive terraces and the dive reefs are slightly different, which makes diving over there a little bit more unique than it is here on the island of Bonaire itself. It's a short ride across. I think at the most you're looking at 15 minutes on the boat. We always have about 20 feet, 15 feet of water underneath the boat. So the sand terrace is literally right underneath us, which is very cool. So we're not necessarily doing, well, I don't know what we call it, deep water dive before you hit the reef, I suppose, something like that. But no, we don't have that worry on Klein Bonaire. And also the guys like to do one-way dives. So let's say we'll pick a dive site in the southwest of the island, and we'll drop everybody in, and we'll let the current run, and we'll go with the current, and then the dive boat will just tinker along. come around the corner and tie off on another mooring and pick everybody up. And that way you get to see a whole lot more of the island. So yeah, it's really cool. Klein Bonaire is a pretty unique little island for diving.
Yeah, it definitely is. So one of the things I definitely want to throw up on the screen here and chat about really quick is Plaza's got and Toucan's got a newsletter. It's in the comments. You can click the link. I just wanted to throw it up there to make sure that we threw that in there. I've subscribed to that. And you can talk to your local dive shop. Oh, let me add the stream. You can talk to your local dive shop, and I got a little click happy there. You can talk to your local dive shop about trying to schedule a trip down to Toucan or Plaza Resort and diving with Hagen at Toucan. And if they're not going, then you can even still come over to Toucan, even if you're staying someplace else, right, Hagen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be staying here in the resort. We're more than happy to accept any customer, any diver who would like to dive with us. We still go through the usual paperwork and we'll check all those sorts of things. But yeah, we can make up dive packages that are completely separate for anybody coming in. Just send us an email if you are going to do it that way. So we can actually get you onto the boat, because we do like to make sure that we have space and we can get you on and give you a great time when you come down with us.
What's the best email for that?
The best email, you could probably use a straightforward one, manager@toucandiving.com. I think that's about the easiest one.
So one question that I'm going to get in trouble if I do not ask. Is there still a spa there? I'm bringing my wife in August and she doesn't really dive too much. Do you guys still have a spa and that, or is that changing? She was asking me and I didn't have an answer. And if I did come home without an answer, then I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay. No, we still have a spa.
Good.
Yes. It is still there. And in the new building plans, we have a spa, fitness, wellness. It's all going in. Yes.
Excellent. So that solves that problem right there. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's great for non-diving. It's a beautiful little walk down to the shops. We always walk down to the shops and Spa and Rosita are fantastic. Yes.
Thank you, Britta.
Yes. So we're excited about coming down and visiting you guys as always. We actually are discussing possibly making this a yearly trip and just changing when it is. So
yeah,
we will have to discuss that. Yeah. Yes, definitely. I just want to move down there, forget all this, and I'm just going to go. I know that one of my instructors is going to pop up here and be like, let's go. Easy, buddy. Easy. They're harassing me. So the snow gets to them. But I really, truly appreciate your time, Hagen, and I'm glad that you guys are doing fairly well as all things can go. And we really hope to be on island as soon as possible.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to welcoming all our guests back as soon as we possibly can. We're so stoked to get back out there diving and, get back to the new normal way of life. It's going to be really good times again. Yes.
Good deal. Excellent. So yeah, to answer this, this will stay on Facebook. This will stay on YouTube. If anybody wants to share it with just general, to general public. And everybody's saying thank you. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to sign Hagen out, then say a couple words to you guys, and then end the broadcast. So thank you very much, Hagen, and hope to see you soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care, everyone. All right. Bye. All right. So I want to thank everybody for staying with the broadcast and saying hello or watching it later on, however you want to do it. Once again, thank you for supporting A Drama Diving. Subscribing on YouTube is one of the biggest ways you can support us, as well as the Patreon. Even $1 a month makes a difference for us trying to go forward. We sold out of every single one of our whiskey cups. We have none left. So we have to reorder them. I'm probably going to do that this week. So we are still doing the pre-order discount on those if you want to buy your whiskey glasses, your Glencairn glassware, which is crazy. I would never expected to do that. But so the support has been amazing. I want to thank you for everything, and give us a little subscribe on the YouTube channel, because now we're going to be going live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, which is, I don't know if it worked or not, but this was our first time doing it. So hopefully it worked out. Thank you guys. Thank you, Britta, for all the engagement. And we will talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much. Take care.